It happened so fast that at first I thought I was imagining it. My aunt leaned in too close to be polite, too close to be accidental. Her hand brushed his arm, slow and deliberate, like she was testing something. Like she was waiting to see if anyone would stop her. No one did. My boyfriend smiled awkwardly, unsure what to do, and my aunt laughed a low, confident laugh, the kind that carries intent, the kind that doesn't care who's watching. I felt my stomach drop. This wasn't the first time she had crossed a line, it was just the first time she didn't bother hiding it. Her name was Vanessa, my mother's younger sister. Single. Loud. Attractive in a way that demanded attention. She always walked into rooms like she owned them. Like everyone else was just furniture. Growing up, people called her fun, free-spirited, bold. No one ever called her what she really was. Predatory. She had a habit of flirting with men who weren't hers. Married men, engaged men, men who clearly belonged to someone else. And somehow, every time she got away with it. Because she laughed it off. Because she said it was just jokes. Because if anyone got uncomfortable, she'd shame them for being insecure. This time, the man she chose was mine. It was supposed to be a simple family dinner, nothing fancy. Just my parents, my aunt, a couple of cousins, and my boyfriend Daniel. It was his first time meeting most of my extended family, and I had been nervous all day. I wanted them to like him. I wanted everything to go smoothly. Vanessa arrived late, as always. The room shifted the moment she walked in. She wore a tight dress that showed more skin than necessary for a casual dinner, her hair perfectly styled, her makeup sharp and deliberate. She scanned the room, her eyes lingering on Daniel just a second too long. I noticed. I always notice. She smiled at him like she already knew him. Like she was pleased with what she saw. So, she said, dragging the word out as she stepped closer, you must be the boyfriend. Daniel stood up politely, extended his hand. Nice to meet you. She didn't take his hand immediately. She looked him up and down first, slowly, openly. Then she took it, holding on longer than necessary. Wow, she said. You're much cuter than I expected. I laughed nervously, hoping she was just being her usual dramatic self. Vanessa. What? She said, eyes still on him. I'm complimenting him. Is that illegal now? Daniel chuckled awkwardly. I saw the discomfort flicker across his face, but he tried to be polite. That's the kind of person he is. He avoids conflict. He gives people the benefit of the doubt. Vanessa thrives on people like that. Throughout dinner, she kept finding excuses to sit closer to him. She leaned in when she talked, touched his arm when she laughed, asked him personal questions she had no business asking. Where he worked. How long he'd been single before me. What kind of women he usually dated. Each question felt like a small cut. I tried to brush it off. I told myself I was being sensitive. I told myself she was just socially inappropriate. Like always. But then came the moment that made it impossible to deny. We were all laughing about something, I don't even remember what, when Vanessa suddenly turned to Daniel and said, You know, you're wasted on someone so uptight. The table went quiet. My heart started pounding. What does that mean? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She smiled sweetly. Oh, relax. I'm just teasing. You're so serious all the time. She turned back to Daniel. Don't you think she's a little stiff? I felt heat rush to my face. This wasn't flirting anymore. This was humiliation. Daniel hesitated. I think she's great, he said carefully. Vanessa laughed. You're being polite. Give it time. That's when I realized something terrifying. She wasn't just hitting on him. She was trying to make me feel small in front of him. If you find this story good, please like and subscribe our channel. It's free for you but helps us a lot to keep sharing real stories like this. The rest of the night felt surreal. Every smile from Vanessa felt sharp. Every laugh felt like it was aimed at me. And no one said anything. Not my mother. Not my cousins. Not even my father. Because this was Vanessa. And Vanessa always got away with it. Later, when we were alone in my room, Daniel finally spoke. Your aunt is intense. I swallowed. Did she make you uncomfortable? He hesitated, then nodded. A little. I didn't know how to react. That hurt more than I expected. Not because he did anything wrong, but because I realized how trapped he must have felt. Trapped between being respectful and setting boundaries. Trapped because the person crossing the line was family. And I knew, deep down, this wasn't over. Vanessa doesn't stop when she senses weakness. She escalates. The next few weeks proved that. She started texting me more often, asking about Daniel under the guise of being curious. She asked what he liked, what his hobbies were, what kind of compliments made him smile. She asked if we were serious or just having fun. Each question felt calculated. Then she started texting him. I found out by accident. I was using Daniel's phone to look up directions when a message popped up. Her name. A winking emoji. My hands went cold. When I opened the chat, my chest tightened. Nothing explicitly sexual. Nothing I could easily point to and say, this is wrong. Just playful messages, compliments, inside jokes I wasn't part of. You look really good in that photo you posted today. Bet you break a lot of hearts. Must be hard being that handsome. I looked at Daniel. Why is my aunt texting you like this? He looked embarrassed. I didn't want to make it weird. I didn't respond much. But the damage was already done. Because now I knew. She wasn't just flirting in front of me to assert dominance. She was building something quietly behind my back. And the worst part? She was waiting for me to react. Because once I did, she would do what she always does. Call me insecure. Call me jealous. Shame me in front of him. And if I wasn't careful, she'd succeed. After I saw the messages, something inside me shifted. Not exploded. Not panicked. Just sharpened. I didn't scream. I didn't accuse. I didn't confront her right away. I learned a long time ago that people like Vanessa don't respond to anger. They feed on it. They twist it. They turn it into proof that you're unstable. So I stayed quiet. Daniel apologized more than once, even though he hadn't encouraged her. He showed me the chat willingly, told me he'd stopped responding, said he didn't want any problems. I believed him. But belief didn't erase the image of her name lighting up his phone. It didn't erase the way she'd looked at him across the dinner table, like she was already imagining something that didn't belong to her. The next family gathering came sooner than I expected. My cousin was hosting a small birthday dinner. I almost didn't go. My body knew before my mind did that something was wrong. But skipping it would have raised questions, and Vanessa loved questions. She loved attention. I decided I wouldn't give her either. She arrived after us again, always fashionably late, always dramatic. This time she walked straight past me and hugged Daniel first. A full-body hug. Her cheek pressed against his, her hand lingering at his back, just a second too long. "Oh my God," she said, stepping back and smiling wide. "I feel like I already know you." Daniel stiffened slightly. Yeah. I laughed softly, pretending it didn't bother me, pretending I hadn't noticed the way several people at the table glanced over. Vanessa noticed too. She always does. Throughout the night, she positioned herself carefully, not obviously beside him. That would be too easy to call out. Instead, she sat across from him, leaning forward whenever she spoke, making sure her body language stayed open, inviting. She laughed at everything he said, even things that weren't funny. She asked him questions that felt intimate disguised as casual. "So what's your love language?" she asked at one point, twirling her wine glass. Daniel blinked. "I don't know. Quality time, I guess?" She smiled slowly. "That figures." I felt my jaw tighten. "Vanessa," I said lightly. "Why do you need to know that?" She looked at me, genuinely amused. "Relax, I'm just getting to know him. Isn't that what family does?" The word family felt sharp in her mouth. Later, while I was helping in the kitchen, I heard her voice rise from the living room. "You know," she said, "I used to be just like her, clingy, insecure, always worried someone would steal my man." I froze. "I grew out of it, though," she continued. "Some women don't." There was a pause. I imagined Daniel standing there, uncomfortable, unsure how to respond. "I don't think she's insecure," he said finally. Vanessa laughed. "You're sweet, you'll see." That was the moment it became clear. She wasn't just flirting anymore. She was rewriting me in his mind. By the time we left, my chest felt tight, like I'd been holding my breath all evening. In the car, Daniel was quiet. "She makes a lot of jokes about you," he said carefully. "They're not jokes," I replied. "They're tests." He didn't argue. A few days later, she texted me. "Hey, just checking in. Hope you're not mad about the other night. You know how I am." I stared at the message for a long time before responding. "I noticed how you talk about me in front of my boyfriend," I typed. It made me uncomfortable. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "You're reading way too much into it," she replied. "Honestly, if you're that threatened by me, maybe that says more about your relationship than me." There it was. The shame. The deflection. I didn't respond. She didn't stop. The next time we were all together, she escalated again. This time, she waited until everyone was around, until laughter filled the room, until calling her out would make me look dramatic. She leaned toward Daniel and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "So tell me, do you ever feel like you're walking on eggshells?" The room went quiet. I felt heat crawl up my neck. "What are you talking about?" She shrugged innocently. "I'm just saying some people can be controlling." My mother laughed awkwardly. "Vanessa, don't start." "I'm not starting anything," she said. "I just care about honesty." I looked at Daniel. His expression had changed. Not attracted. Not amused. Uncomfortable. That's when I realized something important. She wasn't winning. But she wasn't losing either. She was waiting for me to break. After that night, she started telling people things. Subtle things. Little comments slipped into conversations. "She's very sensitive. She doesn't take jokes well. I worry she pushes men away." I heard them secondhand. From cousins. From my mother. From people who thought they were helping. And every time, I felt smaller. One evening, Daniel sat beside me and said, "I need to ask you something, and I don't want you to get upset." My stomach dropped. "Do you think your aunt has an issue with you?" I laughed bitterly. "What do you think?" "I think she crosses lines," he said, "and I think she enjoys watching you react." I looked at him, surprised. "Then why hasn't anyone stopped her?" "Because no one wants to be the bad guy," he said, "and because she's good at pretending." That night, I lay awake replaying everything. Her smile, her laughter, her calculated innocence. I realized something terrifying. She didn't want him. She wanted to prove she could take him. It wasn't desire. It was dominance. And I finally understood what I had to do. I stopped avoiding her. I stopped shrinking. I started watching. Carefully. Silently. Because the more confident Vanessa feels, the more she reveals. And she was about to make a mistake she couldn't laugh her way out of. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. My parents decided to host a small weekend get-together. Nothing formal, just family, food, and conversation. Vanessa was invited, of course. She always was. I considered making an excuse not to go, but something inside me told me this was the moment. People like her don't stop unless they feel exposed. And exposure only happens when there are witnesses. I arrived calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that comes after fear burns itself out and leaves only clarity behind. Daniel stayed close to me at first, his hand brushing mine occasionally like reassurance. Vanessa noticed immediately. I saw the flicker in her eyes, the quick calculation. She greeted everyone loudly, dramatically, then turned her attention to him like she always did. "You look tense," she said, touching his shoulder lightly. "Relax, you're with family." The word family again. Always used like a shield. As the afternoon went on, she started drinking. Just enough to loosen her tongue, not enough to lose control. That's when Vanessa is at her most dangerous. She gets bold, honest, careless. She found reasons to pull Daniel into conversations I wasn't part of. She laughed louder, leaned closer, spoke slower. At one point, she commented on his arms, then joked about how I never let him have any fun. I didn't react. I noticed my mother watching me, her brow furrowed, like she was waiting for me to snap. Vanessa noticed that too. That's when she smiled. She was going to push. It happened in the kitchen. I was pouring drinks when Vanessa walked in with Daniel behind her. She closed the door halfway, not fully, just enough to make it feel private without actually being private. That detail mattered later. You ever notice, she said casually, how she gets quiet when she's uncomfortable? Daniel didn't answer. She's always been like that, Vanessa continued. Instead of saying what she wants, she sulks. It's exhausting. I set the pitcher down slowly. I'm right here, I said. She turned, startled for just a second before recovering. I know, I'm not saying anything you wouldn't say yourself. That's funny, I replied, because I don't remember asking you to speak for me. Daniel shifted uncomfortably. Vanessa laughed. See, this is what I mean, so defensive. That's when she crossed the line. She looked directly at Daniel and said, honestly, if I were you, I'd get tired of walking on eggshells. You deserve someone lighter. The room went quiet. Not just the kitchen. The whole house. Someone had walked closer. The door wasn't as closed as she thought. My father stood just outside, my cousin too. My mother froze mid-sentence in the living room. Vanessa realized it a second too late. But she didn't backtrack. She doubled down. Oh, don't look at me like that, she said, lifting her hands. I'm just being honest. Someone has to say it. My heart was pounding, but my voice stayed steady. You're humiliating me in front of my boyfriend. She tilted her head. If it's humiliating, maybe it's because it's true. Daniel finally spoke. That's enough, he said. The room froze again. Vanessa looked genuinely surprised. Excuse me? I said that's enough, he repeated. You don't get to talk about her like that. Her smile faltered, just slightly. I'm just trying to help. No, he said. You're crossing boundaries. My mother rushed in. Vanessa, what are you doing? Vanessa laughed nervously. Oh my God, everyone's so dramatic. I was joking. But no one laughed. The energy had shifted. This wasn't me overreacting anymore. This wasn't insecurity. This was witnessed, recorded in memory. Undeniable. Vanessa's eyes flicked around the room, searching for an ally. Someone to laugh it off with her. Someone to normalize it. No one did. She scoffed. Fine, sorry if anyone's feelings got hurt. Not an apology. A dismissal. She grabbed her drink and walked out of the kitchen, shoulders stiff. Later that evening, I overheard her talking to my mother in hushed tones. She's poisoning him against me, Vanessa whispered. I was just being honest. My mother didn't respond right away, and that silence spoke louder than anything. On the drive home, Daniel was quiet. Then he exhaled slowly. I see it now, he said. I didn't ask what he meant. She's not joking, he continued. She's trying to undermine you, and she enjoys it. I nodded. That's what I've been saying. I should have shut it down sooner, he said. I didn't want to cause drama. She counts on that, I replied. That night, Vanessa texted him. I know, because he showed me immediately. Didn't mean to make things awkward earlier. Hope you know I was just being honest. He didn't reply. She texted again. Some people can't handle the truth. Still no reply. Then she texted me. I can't believe you embarrassed me like that. You've always been jealous of me. I stared at the message and felt something strange. Relief. Because she had finally revealed herself completely. I didn't respond. The next day, my mother called. I need to talk to you about Vanessa, she said carefully. Those words had never been spoken before. Ever. She crossed a line, my mother admitted. I saw it. That was the moment everything shifted. Vanessa had always survived by keeping things ambiguous, by making people doubt themselves. But ambiguity had disappeared. Now there were witnesses. Now there was pattern. And Vanessa knew it. She didn't apologize after that. She withdrew. She sulked. She acted wounded. She skipped gatherings. She waited for sympathy. But something was different. People weren't reaching out the way they used to. Because once someone shows you who they are, you can't unsee it. And I knew this wasn't over. Vanessa doesn't retreat forever. She plots. She reframes. She waits for the moment she thinks she can regain control. And when she comes back, she won't flirt. She'll try something worse. Vanessa stayed quiet for a while after that night, and the silence felt unnatural. People like her don't retreat because they've learned a lesson. They retreat because they're regrouping. Every unanswered text, every skipped gathering, every exaggerated sigh my mother mentioned on the phone felt calculated. She wanted people to feel sorry for her. She wanted the narrative to shift. She's embarrassed, my mother said once, hesitating. Maybe you should reach out. I didn't. For the first time in my life, I didn't rush to smooth things over. I didn't explain myself. I didn't defend my feelings. I let the discomfort sit where it belonged. With her, Daniel noticed the change in me. I wasn't tense anymore. I wasn't bracing myself before family events. I felt strangely steady, like I'd finally stepped off a moving platform. He stayed close, openly, without hesitation now. The ambiguity Vanessa thrived on was gone, and she hated that. Her comeback came in the form of a phone call. She didn't call me, she called Daniel. I was sitting next to him when his phone rang. Her name lit up the screen. He looked at me first this time. Do you want me to answer? He asked. Yes, I said, on speaker. There was a pause, then he answered. Hey, Vanessa said, her voice suddenly soft wounded. I just wanted to clear the air. Daniel didn't respond right away. I feel like things got really twisted, she continued. I never meant to cause problems between you two. I watched his face carefully. She was using the same tone she always did when she wanted to seem harmless. The misunderstood woman. The one everyone judged unfairly. I think your behavior was inappropriate, he said calmly. Silence. Then a laugh, light, dismissive. Wow, she really got to you. That was it. She didn't get to me, he replied. I watched it myself. Her tone changed instantly. Sharper now. Irritated. So you're choosing sides? I'm choosing boundaries, he said. Please don't contact me again. The line went dead. For a moment, neither of us spoke. She's going to explode, I said quietly. And she did. Within days, the stories started circulating. Vanessa was suddenly very talkative again. She told relatives I was unstable, that I'd always been jealous of her, that I was controlling Daniel, isolating him, turning him against family. She's always been threatened by me, Vanessa told my cousin. Some women can't handle confidence. This time, something unexpected happened. People didn't rush to defend her. They listened, and then they compared notes. My mother noticed inconsistencies. My aunt remembered past incidents she'd brushed off. A cousin admitted Vanessa had flirted with her husband years ago. Another said she'd made similar comments about their relationship. The pattern emerged quietly, without confrontation. Vanessa felt it. She showed up unannounced one afternoon, standing in my parents' living room like she owned the place, eyes bright with something close to panic. I wasn't there yet, but I arrived halfway through the conversation. You're all turning against me, she said, her voice trembling just enough to seem genuine. Because of her. I stepped into the room. No, I said, because of you. She turned sharply. You don't get to speak. I do now. My mother looked between us, exhausted. Vanessa, this needs to stop. Her eyes filled with tears instantly. So you're choosing her? I'm choosing reality, my mother replied. Vanessa laughed, high and brittle. Unbelievable. I try to warn people, and I'm the villain. Warn them about what? I asked. That I won't let you humiliate me anymore? She stepped closer, lowering her voice. You think you won, don't you? I didn't compete, I said. That was your game. She scoffed. Please. You were always afraid I'd outshine you. That was when something in me shifted completely. I was never afraid of you, I said evenly. I was embarrassed for you. The room went silent. Her face twisted. Say that again. You flirt with men who aren't yours because it makes you feel powerful, I continued. You shame other women to feel superior, and when someone finally calls you out, you cry and pretend you're the victim. She raised her hand, not to hit me, but to gesture wildly. You don't know anything about me. I know exactly who you are, I said, and so does everyone else now. She looked around, desperate for support. No one met her eyes. That was the moment she broke. This family is pathetic, she snapped. You all deserve each other. She grabbed her bag and stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. The aftermath was quiet, heavy, real. No one chased her. That was new. In the days that followed, my phone stayed silent. No dramatic apologies, no manipulative messages, no attempts to pull me back into her orbit. Instead, I heard from others. She's not speaking to anyone. She feels betrayed. She says you ruined her reputation. I didn't respond. Because reputations don't get ruined by exposure, they get revealed. Daniel and I talked a lot during that time, about boundaries, about family loyalty, about how easily silence can be mistaken for consent. I'm proud of you, he told me one night, for not letting her control the narrative. I smiled. I didn't fight her. I just stopped protecting her. Weeks passed, then months. Vanessa didn't disappear completely, but she lost something she'd always relied on. Access. She wasn't invited the same way anymore. People were cautious. Conversations shifted when she entered rooms. Jokes fell flat. Her confidence looked forced. And she noticed. The last time I saw her, she didn't flirt. She didn't joke. She didn't even look at Daniel. She just looked tired. And for the first time, small. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. Because the power she held over me had never been about attraction or attention. It had been about silence. And I had taken that away. The silence that followed Vanessa's outburst didn't feel empty. It felt settled, like dust finally falling after a long collapse. For the first time in my life, I wasn't replaying conversations in my head, wondering if I had imagined things, questioning whether I had been too sensitive. The doubt that had lived quietly inside me for years was gone. Vanessa didn't reach out again. No dramatic apology, no late-night confession, no attempt to reframe herself as misunderstood. That alone told me everything I needed to know. When manipulators lose control of the narrative, they don't heal, they retreat. Family gatherings slowly resumed without her dominating the space. The energy felt different, lighter. People spoke more freely. Laughter felt real instead of tense. I noticed small things: how my mother no longer watched Vanessa's reactions before speaking, how conversations didn't abruptly change direction, how no one felt the need to excuse anyone's behavior. It wasn't that Vanessa had been the center of the family, it was that she had been the pressure point. Daniel noticed it too. It's quieter, he said once, in a good way. I nodded. Peace isn't loud. Over time, I learned more than I ever wanted to know. Stories surfaced quietly, not as gossip, but as recognition. My cousin admitted Vanessa had once told her husband he deserved someone more exciting. Another aunt confessed she'd stopped bringing her partner around because of the comments, the looks, the jokes that went too far. These stories had always existed, they just hadn't been spoken out loud. Vanessa hadn't been bold. She had been enabled. And I had been one of the people who unknowingly protected her, simply by staying silent. The hardest part to accept wasn't what she did, it was how long I let it happen, how often I minimized myself to avoid conflict, how many times I swallowed discomfort because I didn't want to seem dramatic. I used to think strength meant enduring. Now I knew better. Strength is recognizing patterns. Strength is refusing to normalize disrespect. Strength is letting people face the consequences of who they choose to be. Months later, Vanessa showed up at a larger family event. She was quieter, more restrained, still polished, still composed, but missing that edge she once carried like a weapon. She didn't approach Daniel, she didn't comment on me, she kept her distance. We made eye contact briefly. There was no apology in her eyes. But there was something else. Awareness. She knew I wouldn't protect her anymore. And that changed everything. I didn't feel the need to confront her again. I didn't need closure from her. Closure had come the moment I stopped needing her to acknowledge the harm she caused. I no longer needed validation from someone who thrived on invalidating others. Daniel and I grew closer in ways that surprised me. What we went through, forced honesty, forced communication, forced boundaries. He didn't just support me, he learned. He became more assertive, more protective of our space, more aware of how silence can be mistaken for permission. I didn't realize how calculated it was, he said once, until I saw it clearly. That's how it works, I replied. You don't see it until you do. And once you do, you can't unsee it. I also changed, in subtle but permanent ways. I stopped laughing things off. I stopped apologizing for my instincts. I stopped explaining myself to people who were committed to misunderstanding me. I learned to trust that discomfort is information, not weakness. The shame Vanessa tried to place on me never belonged to me in the first place. It belonged to her. And when I stopped carrying it for her, she was forced to carry it herself. I don't hate my aunt. Hate would mean she still holds emotional weight in my life. She doesn't. What I feel now is distance, intentional, calm, protective distance. I wish her no harm. But I no longer allow her access to my vulnerability. Some people mistake access for entitlement. They're wrong. Family doesn't mean tolerance. Love doesn't mean silence. And confidence doesn't require tearing someone else down. The biggest lesson wasn't about her. It was about me. I learned that you don't need to fight loudly to win. You don't need to expose people aggressively. You don't need to beg others to believe you. When someone relies on manipulation, all you have to do is step aside and let them reveal themselves. Truth doesn't rush. It waits. And when it arrives, it doesn't argue. It just stands there. Undeniable. Vanessa lost something that day. Not her family. Not her image. She lost control. And that's the one thing people like her can't survive without. I gained something far more valuable. Peace. If you find this story good, please like and subscribe our channel. It's free for you but helps us a lot to keep sharing real stories like this.